Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. In this opportunity, I'm with Rija. Will be tell you about what is contexting in language teaching. The first is contexting in language teaching is refers to the practice of placing language word, grammar, ex- expression within a meaningful and realistic context to make it more understandable, memorable, and usable learners. The first, what does contexting involve? The first is situational use of language. Instead of teaching vocabulary or grammar in isolation, contexting present them within situs. The second is meaning making. It helps learner understand how and why a particular language structure or word is used in real-life communication. The third is cultural and social embedding. Language is tied to cultural norms in social conversation, in social conversation and contexting introduce those aspects to avoid robotic on inappropriate use. Uh, And then in here, if there is someone ask to us, why is contexting important? The first is boost compression and retention. The second is encourages communicative competence. And the third is reduce cognitive load. And the fourth is bridges the gap between classroom learning and real world use. Maybe will be continued by Rija.
Okay. Um, I will begin my part of this forum here. So, what is the importance of contexting in language learning? Well, the first one is to make learnings more authentic and relevant because it happens in real time. It happens simultaneously and pretty much all of a sudden. I don't know what the word is, but it is very sudden. And the second one is to help learner grasp meaning more easily because in the contexting, there will be some word in English that might be different in the context of meaning rather than what it actually is. It's usually that. The third one is to promote communicative competence and to encourage critical thinking and creativity. So there is three types of context. The first one is linguistic context. So linguistic context is the word that's surrounding a word in a sentence. But what does that even mean? So linguistic context is the context inside the language itself. It refers to the words, sentence, and grammars around the word or a phrase. The There is one example that I'm going to do. There's one example in the sentence of she's running late. So the first one is the word running doesn't mean jogging. It means she's being behind schedule, so she's basically being late. And the second one is to understand come from seeing how running is used with late. So again, it's a word surrounding a word itself. So one word can be equals to like two meanings of two different meanings basically. So in English learning, a student use a linguistic context to guess meaning of new words, and it could help understand grammar and idiomatic impression. So, and the second one is a situational context. So, situational context is a physical or social setting. So this is a context of a situation where the language is used, who is speaking, to whom, where, when, why, and how. So an example for this is in this following sentence. Can you open the window? From that example alone, what is the context behind this, can you open the door? So there's a couple contexts of why. Again, from why would anyone would open the window in this context? There, it might be that you're in a classroom, right? You're in a classroom, it's a hot sunny day, and there's no wind gushing inside the classroom, so it's a request. It's a request from one another, like, hey, can you open the window for me? It's very hot outside. Or it may be in a story. It could be a code or a signal. Can you open the window? And an example, if it's a code or maybe a signal to open the door, let the smoke out. Imagine you are in a room where there's smoke everywhere for some reason. Can you open the window, please? Or maybe in the context of cooking, where cooking, there's so many smoke up in the air and it clouded the entire room of your house. So you want to open your window so the smoke could go out in the wild, in the outside. And in the third one is a cultural context. Cultural context is a background knowledge and cultural norms. In this cultural context, it means the values, beliefs, and tradition and custom of the cultures where the language is spoken. So there is for example, there's a phrase, right? There's a phrase called phrases like "How are you?" The word "How are you?" in English is often don't need a detailed answer. You don't need to go full on specific mode. It's just a polite greeting, or maybe like an idioms. Idioms like break a leg. It means good luck in speaking English cultures. Or in this context, in this English learning, the students can understand deeper meanings, humor, and references, and they could learn to communicate in a way that is culturally appropriate. So this is a part for Ridwan. Ridwan, the time is yours.
Okay, is my turn. That is contexting in classroom activities. The first is role play. So like this. Uh, the title for the role play. Example. The title of the for the role play is at the restaurant. Target language first is vocabulary, food, and drink items, menu, terms, or polite phrases. And then for the grammar, making requests like could I have or I'd like, and the function is ordering food, asking about the menu, paying the bill, like that. Uh, and then uh, like if the role play will be accept for you, there is step by step instruction like set the context and then introduce useful language and then to prepare material and then role play activity or switch rules or reflect and review and then yeah, I think is that enough. Okay, next. For Rija, can you turn the presentation?
Okay, thank you. For this one is one of the few example for the teaching vocabulary with context. So again, the context, well, not the context in itself, it's so many examples. Most of it is just the usage of idioms most of the time. Here's one of the few example for like a teaching vocabulary. So one example, instead of teaching the word hospital in isolation, use a maybe like a dialogue. It said, "My father is in the hospital," and then you add a context of why is your father is in the hospital, and what is the context behind it? Because he broke his leg yesterday. Maybe like another example, I have to go to the supermarket. I ran out of shampoo. Maybe that's one of the few examples of a teaching vocabulary in context. So the student could understand the usage, the tone, and the collocation of those vocabularies. For this one, we'll refer it back to Ridwan. Ridwan, time is yours. Ridwan, the time is yours.
I'm sorry, I'm mute. Okay, thank you, Rija. For the benefit, I think it's very many, but I will tell some. The first is improves understanding and retention. Why? Because when language is tough in meaningful situations, student grabs the meaning faster, and then the context acts as a mental answer, making it easier to remember vocabulary and grammar. Example like learning "I'm sorry" or say "thank you." And then the second is to real connects language to real life. Uh, why? Because students see how language is used naturally, not just as abstract rules. And then this builds confidence when speaking in real situation, like when we go to somewhere to travel or work. And then the third is develops communicative competence. Learner don't just know what words mean, they learn when, where, and how to use them appropriately, and then encourage use of tone formatly and cultural cues. The fourth is encourage activities engagement. Why? Because context rich activities like RP or dialogues or simulation are more fun and interactive. And then increase motivation and participation, especially for students who don't enjoy traditional memorization. The last is promotes deeper learning. Contexting supports critical thinking and problem solving, especially in task-based learning. It allows for integrated skill practice like reading, writing, speaking, listening, and realistic setting. And then I think maybe for me enough. And then uh will be get conclusion by Rija and will be ended this meeting by Rija. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ridwan, for that. So we come to a conclusion here for context and in language teaching. So So the first one is the contexting is a vital strategy in language teaching because most of the the things that we learn about vocabularies and such in English teaching in terms of contexting, it is kind of impactful if you are, learning the basics and everything. And it bridges the gap between theory and real world communication. And then context to the usage of contexting is to make your English lesson more effective, more engaging, and more meaningful because um, if I do say so myself, it is very unusual. But for some reason, it kind of worked. It kind of worked. And now I guess I know why most of English Basic nowadays are also using contexting for this. So that'll be it for this presentation about contexting. On the behalf of myself and Ridwan, thank you for attending this presentation for us. Thank you, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.